webinars or chat sessions or even Skype or other mode. If we break this up into different portions, this is what a managed learning architecture would look like. The virtual learning environment would have something to do with content management, knowledge discovery engines, collaboration between systems, course management systems. Obviously, there should be some authentication so that these are not insecure. Authorization of which user can use how much of content, packaging and assessment. These are standard for all the virtual learning environments. Then we have a library management system, which again would have content management system, knowledge discovery system, cataloging system, course management system. Again, it needs to have authentication, authorization and packaging systems. Coming to student record management system, it will have grading and grade maintenance systems. It will have again a course management system, authentication system, obviously, and authorization system. If we look at it for a few minutes, any one of you might ask, why are we repeating certain procedures or certain applications? For example, content management is common in both virtual learning environment system as well as library management system. Why not combine both instead of having different content management systems for both the systems? We could similarly say knowledge discovery system can be commonized. Similarly, authentication, we require that across all three platforms. So every time a student logs into, let's say, virtual learning environment, he needs to authenticate his student ID and password. Again, if he wants to access the library management system, again he needs to authenticate his student ID and password. And if he wants to access any of his student records, again he has to authenticate his student ID and password. That's a headache for the student. Why not bring about single sign-on? Any one of you might be asking that. That's a very good suggestion. So why not take out these common functionalities and bring about something like this? So we still have three different systems: a virtual learning environment, a library management system which is archiving all the course materials, and then there is the student record and administrative system. Only thing is, now we have separated the common systems or functionalities from all these three systems and put them in a separate box. When we look at it this way, we see that a lot of functions could have been actually commonized, and that reduces the load on the system. That also makes it more efficient. So we keep the specific functionalities like collaboration, assessment, etc. for virtual learning environment. Cataloging is something very particular only to the library management system. And then grading and grade maintenance and student record maintenance is something which is particular to the student record maintenance system. The rest are common to all of these. For example, content management, packaging, authentication, authorization, knowledge discovery and course management are common across all three platforms and hence have been made commonly available to all three systems. So this brings in a little more efficiency into the system of e-learning architecture. Now coming to other e-learning architectures, we find that the first generation of e-learning architectures has been passed. Most of the institutions are in second generation of e-learning systems, which means they have already implemented one set of platform and e-learning materials, and now they are upgrading them. So a lot of companies have legacy systems. When the need arose, they built whatever they wanted in whatever kind of infrastructure that was available to them. Remember, infrastructure is very, very expensive. For a company or a university or an educational system to invest in fresh infrastructure every time they want to upgrade their e-learning platform would be cost prohibitive. And I do not think anybody would really appreciate upgrading their system time and again, just so that they can bring in a few new features into their e-learning system or document management system for that matter. So what they would prefer to do is keep the existing system and somehow bring about the new features. I'm sure all of you agree with that. We have all had at some point of our lives tried to reason with the management that we need a totally new system which is so wonderful that let's throw away the old system, but that doesn't happen. It's frustrating, but that is what we have to live with. So, thus was born service-oriented architecture. So you build on top of whatever is available. We call them plugins. So we build a new student portal which will be plugged into the student record system through course management web service, library management system which was maybe not existing as evolved as previously, and then there is a department of developed teaching tool. Let us say they bring in new tools, a new version of web meeting, GoToMeeting, so on and so forth. All these, when they get upgraded, they need to go back and work with the legacy systems that are already existing. So we develop some architecture or some application which can talk to the old systems. Sometimes when this is not possible, we make sure that we build a layer in between which would talk to the old systems. In this webinar, this particular layer that talks to the legacy system has been recommended to be web services. Why web services? Because web services is a universally defined language set of rules. It is accepted by other applications also, and it is also easily implementable. So this is one thing that is globally available. So we come to web services as a solution provider. Web services provide the standard means of communication amongst different software applications. Let these software applications be pre-existing or the new ones. They could also be running on different platforms for all we know. Now, the potential for web services for a combination of XML, SOAP, WSDL and the internet is immense, because the internet actually supports all of this, and most of the applications that are running nowadays also have been standardized to accept the web services. And then it's a common platform to a lot of other managed and unmanaged documents. One such platform is our internet. And then there are scores of intranets existing within companies which use XML, SOAP and other web services as a means to communicate and also put up documents. These are also tried and tested protocols, and they promote interoperability, they promote scalability as we see in internet, and they can be extended also. So these are the features that make web services a very desirable solution in order to have a collaborative environment in e-learning architectures. So that is why we decided upon using web services as a communicator.